Five, four, three, two, one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is yours truly, Pedro Garcia, and I am with Isaias Nunez. And welcome to the Wise Dome for our second episode ever. This episode is going to be a lot more interesting than, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a lot more interesting than the first episode. Because today we're going to be talking about something I think that relatively few people ever question, and it has to do with anti-Semitism, and how big members of the media industry seem to really go after anyone who dares to speak against Jehovah's people. So to start this off, I just wanted to bring up the fact that recently there was a basketball player by the name of Kyrie Irving, which I'm sure many of you know about. But recently he had been Kanye'd, essentially. And the NBA really came after him for some very hefty fine. He had to pay like $500,000. He also had to take some classes in regards to learning about Jewish history, and he had to learn a lot about, he just had to basically learn how he needed to be a little bit more sensitive and take sensitivity classes, and the list went on and on. It must have been like 6 charges that he had for one remark. What's your opinion on that? What's going on?
I find it really funny though how like in the comments of a lot of posts I see about Kyrie's situation is people are calling him Kyrie West.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's really catchy.
I like what you said about it's called the being Kanye.
That's being Kanye.
Oh, but who was being Kanye before it was being called being Kanye?
Who?
Nick Cannon.
Why Nick Cannon?
Do you remember Nick Cannon? He got on a certain podcast and started talking about started talking like a bunch of like different ideas and stuff like that. And in it, he said that he spoke about like Jewish people, not specifically how like there's generally a group of Jewish people who have a big stranglehold on the media and they can't be talked about. And he had his show basically canceled immediately and held against him, right? He got booted he got fired off MTV completely, and he was forced to make an apology, make amends to the community immediately. And it wasn't even public outcry. There was no of course there were public outcry, but there was no the level of normal cancellations where it goes on trending, and then people talk about it for a week, and then his PR team apologized on his behalf, and then a week later he has to apologize. There's a normal course of events for these things. It was just immediate. Within 2 days,
he was gone.
Immediate consequences, all gone. There's no calls, no trending calls in the public for his cancellation. It was just kind of very executive, the whole process.
Yeah, so it's not even this isn't the level of cancellation we're talking about isn't what we've seen with Andrew Tate.
No.
Recently. This is at another level. Because Andrew Tate, I know that he was, for those of you who don't know, Andrew Tate has actually been out in the public eye for quite many years prior to this one, before he really blew up. And he actually had been shadow banned from Twitter several times. He had his own account taken off the platform. But even now, even with everything that he's going through right now, he's been receiving death threats from some very powerful people. If you know, he hasn't, obviously his Twitter has been taken off. He's taken off from YouTube, from TikTok, all that stuff. But with the Jew, it's he and all the messaging that he put out was just laid out for for a specific demographic, which was young men, and he was just basically trying to give out a positive message out there. But there seems to be a different level of cancellation when you go against Jews.
Yeah, it's with Andrew Tate, it was kind of that was kind of we could maybe consider a somewhat organic cancellation in the sense of it went the typical route. Some he said a lot of things on a lot of shows. Some of the things he said were positive, but the thing that got him in trouble were a lot of things he said about that were misogynistic towards women, or had painted things from a certain perspective. I was very like that was very like looked very bad, and that was just spread around, and then like those became the clips, and then those became like what he was like more famous for in the general public, and then the general public counted him, and like then all the tech platforms coordinated together in a single day to ban him off the internet, and now he lives in Romania?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like organic. That took a couple weeks. But like with when like celebrities or like when like people talk, say something that could be like anti-Semitic or an idea that's like associated with anti-Semitism, which is crazy, because it can not even just be that you said, oh, the Jewish people have too much power, we can do something about it. Like, there's a difference from that, and there's a difference from like saying there's an international cabal of people that are trying to make a one-world government in order to like control the lives of everybody in the world, right? And the funny thing is, I've seen like big media say that like if you talk about the globalist like not even conspiracy at this point, it's just a globalist agenda, that is somehow anti-Semitic, because there's an anti-Semitic conspiracy that like all Jewish people have like this big conspiracy to rule the world, right? So it's just because, so that's even really more fucked up, because like if you say something about like the global agenda, and someone says like you're being anti-Semitic, that's them. That's
it's
more
like
than
implying.
them.
Yeah, it's like them projecting.
Yeah, it's like how you, it's like saying like that voting laws that that makes people like show an ID in order to like be able to vote is gonna hurt black people. It's like you're implying right there that like there's something like inherent about being like about black people that they cannot get an ID.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then then you can't like really like argue back, and then like because big media people like you can't really like argue back, and you just get canceled from that behalf, right?
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Yeah, but right, it is a different kind of cancellation, because it's like you get canceled because there's a group of people that like lobby to get you canceled, and you're canceled because a small group of people in very powerful positions make a few phone calls, and suddenly you're just gone.
Just gone. And these are very influential individuals we're talking about. I mean, Kanye, of course, is a master of his craft. Kyrie in basketball, and Nick Cannon when it comes to entertainment. It's like they truly, there's something out there, man. There's truly, look, like the fact that Andrew Tate's now Muslim, I think that the fact that the cabal's after him has something to do with that, man.
And this is like a really like an interesting thing about this very particular like group of people. And by group of people, I don't even mean like Jewish people as a whole. I mean like this cabal of powerful people that just have that like are Jewish, right? Just happen to be Jewish. Is that because you can't speak, because you can't say anything, you particularly can't say anything about like Jewish people as a whole, but like more so about like certain ideas associated with like that like culture of people. There is a fuck, I forgot my point in this.
It's okay.
Right. It was like fuck. Yeah, I'll remember that later on.
Yeah, what happened?
Fuck, I had it.
Oops.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So I remember what my point was. So my point was that like it's a weird like like cabal like. That's a weird thing too. Saying things like cabal or group or organization, something like that, has like immediately alerts everybody's like ignites everybody's like a detector of like this possibly anti-Semitic, because like everyone is kind of like aware of like the conspiracy like Jewish people around the world and stuff like that, and like it's termed as cabal sometimes, it's termed as like and that's really weird. Not really weird, like that's like very like tripping. Because we're literally talking about like two completely separate things, but because like there's like words similar to like what the conspiracy sounds like, suddenly it's like tread carefully now,
Yeah.
All right. So the thing is that like if you say something about this group, about like the fact that you get canceled in a very special way for talking about Jewish people compared to other minorities or just other people in general, makes it seem like that talking about Jewish people in general makes it feel like that there's like a monolith, like a monolithic group of people, like the Jewish people as a collective, like across the country is them, right? As a single block of people. Meanwhile, it's just like very few, very influential Jewish people in LA, New York. Literally just those two populations. Literally the entire like people who are like Manipulating
I think that that's also the issue too, as to why they might think that it's anti-Semitic, because you're implying, you're essentially generalizing that all these people are evil, that all these people have all this power and influence, but it's a lot more specific, really. It's a lot. I mean, the pool is a lot smaller than what people are making it out to be. So perhaps that's probably why they're making it seem like, okay, they're trying to imply that it's anti-Semitic, but at the same time, I think the fact that people, like Jews are already considered to be the most successful group of people on the planet. Why is that bad?
No.
Why? I mean, I mean, not bad, but you understand that like the implication is that.
Why is pointing that out a bad thing?
Right.
Yes. I think the reason why I pointed that out as a bad thing is because like, as like a crazy like this, as crazy like that, like we're like it's kind of like, you know, like a cultural reaction, or like any like a weird. Whenever like there's like some like criticism towards the Jewish community that could be perceived as like anti-Semitic, not even the Jewish community, but just like the Jewish, the group of people that are very powerful that just happen to be Jewish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot separate that. You can't talk about those people without that making it seem like you're talking about the entirety of the Jewish population of the world, right?
Right.
And because like Jewish people, just as a population, have gone through so much shit in history, it's just like, because if you imply that there's a group of them that more than most people, then like, you know, people assume that like, you know, you're gonna go 4 steps into genocide next step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, you know, that's just kind of like the climate of like how people kind of perceive speaking on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's like kind of like a really fucked up thing too, because the very like allergic reaction to even like, you know, approaching that topic, which then makes it seem like it's like that makes it seem like it is a monolith of people, because it's just like so randomly powerful, like, you know, it's a different kind of power compared to the other, like, you know, minority groups in the country, which makes it look even more suspicious, which then makes people have more anti-Semitic like thoughts and beliefs, because it's just kind of like every time they cancel people like this, it just makes Kanye look more right, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Do you think that it's? I think this has something to do with Holocaust.
Oh yeah.
I think that ever since then, there has been a deep fear that possibly there could be another Hitler. What do you think of that? Like, do you think that there's going to be? I mean, there has to be a reason as to why they come at these people so strongly and abruptly.
So, I think of it in somewhat kind of the same way that like all right, this is gonna be like a very like a weird like a set of connections, so you have to follow me on this, right? Okay, so let me start you off with this, right?
I'll try my best.
Okay. All right. So I'd imagine, in some sense of comparison, that the Nazis saw the Jewish people the same way that like the communist Bolsheviks saw the people that had wealth in the countries, right? Where it's like just there was a cultural push cultural resentment where like basically people in the country are very like, you know, poor and suffering a lot, and then like the people in power, or like somebody pushes a very big cultural idea that there's a specific group of people that are like, you know, causing this, or because that group of people have more than you do, it's because they did something unfair that fucked you over in some big capacity that you then can't really make a direct connection to, right? It's a similar way to like how like the communists saw it's how like the during communism in like Russia, like at the start of it, how they saw the, you know, the rich people who, you know, own land, or like, you know, the people who owned the factories, that they were just like, because they're better off than you, there's something wrong that you have to correct, because otherwise you're being like taken advantage of in some capacity. So in order for not to be taken advantage of, you must fight against this other group of people. The Nazis did the same trick with the Jewish people that like the Russian communists did, like the more richer people in the country, where like you pin, because this population just happens to be doing like better than like other people in the general population, it's easy to have resentment towards them, and it's very, very, very easy to just wield that resentment against those people. And the thing is that it's kind of like starting a campfire, and the people that you target are just tinder, in the sense that like you target them and they get persecuted by society for the end goal, so that you can amass enough power. You can amass power through doing that, and you know, push the country together in a certain way to have for your end, right? In a sense, in a sense that there was another population in Germany that was doing like that was a better target than the Jewish people for like the ends of the fascist regime, it would have just been them, right? But the Jewish people were like targeted as like a very like useful scapegoat in order to start fire, in order to like lead into like a fascist country. Well, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's human nature for people to look up to be successful and just say, those people. But then again, do you think that this sort of, but now do you think that it's the roles have been reversed now at this point? Because the Jewish people are so influential nowadays?
That's kind of the thing though. Like the roles can never really be reversed because like anybody, anytime, any group of people can be used as a target for like some kind of political scapegoat. If you think about it, like it's kind of like happening with white people right now. If you think about it.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying like white people are going to get like treated like Jews did like by the Nazis, but I mean like that white people are used as a scapegoat for a cultural like issue for like societal issues that are just kind of either being swept and made simplified by like targeting these people and like being ignored by the politicians, or it's like a very convenient thing you can just target people's anger towards and having to be distracted. Because like at any point, even though like there's a even though Jewish people are like considered one of the more successful people of this country, at any point anybody can be targeted for like some kind of like a weird cultural persecution. It don't matter. And since it happens to the Jewish people a lot of times throughout history, they're extra cautious of it. So like let's say you guys are like what race are you?
Hispanic.
Hispanic, right? Let's say like there was a targeted purge against Hispanic people in a certain country, right? And let's say let's say like the people that survived that purging have found themselves to be in a better place now currently with a lot more like a money power and influence. Having the memories culturally, the memories within within your culture of like horrible shit that happened like that. When you do everything in your power in order to prevent any kind of seedling of that happening again.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, and like it's right now it's probably kind of gotten to the point where it's like counterproductive, because the speed and the night that the banhammer comes down on people makes it look a lot more makes people who have very anti-Semitic conspiracies about stuff look more legitimate in the sense of see, there is consequences for this thing because they have this disproportionate power. And it's very easy to distort the truth in such a way to make it for that kind of argument, which is a weird a cultural issue that we have right now.
Yeah, man. So now, where do you think that the culture is going to go now?
Well, now I think that I don't really think much is going to happen with this whole Kanye West and Kanye West situation in the media. Maybe a few more people are going to get struck down, but there's not really going to be a major push, I think, because everyone sees it, but it's not really gotten excessive, I would say, it would be a problem, not even problem, it would be it would cause a cultural shift or some kind of targeting or some kind of greater cultural movement of questioning or of controversy if the amount of bannings that was happening was to the same level as it did for LGBT issues. And in a sense of how it's kind of a joke in here at this point to get canceled for anything, and then you think most people get canceled for LGBT issues in some capacity, for million things people accuse people of target them, shove them down, right? If it got to that point where it's just you say some fake thing and someone decides it's anti-Semitism and you get de-personed off the internet,
Yes.
then that's gonna cause issues.
Damn, man.
But speaking of de-personing, actually, sorry, you go for it.
No, go ahead. I don't want to say anything.
I just feel I kind of they take over the conversation a lot of times.
Yeah, it's fine, dude. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that speaking of disproportional power compared to cancellations, Kanye West got canceled by the banks, bro. Morgan Stanley, the bank, the bank that was working with him, fucking distanced themselves from him and basically closed off any business they had between each other. That is
That's insane.
some next level shit.
Yeah.
Like, you could get
The
canceled.
same thing happened to Andrew Tate. He was complaining about how, like, you know, he got canceled from all the social media platforms. Then he got canceled from all his bank accounts. Like, they come after you.
Dude, it's like it's so crazy that like the internet, the internet works in the first place. The fact that the internet even exists in the way that it does is because we all kind of have this acceptance. Internet is not real life, you know?
Mm-hmm. But now it's become more and more real life.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it became more real life after we let the boomers in, because the boomers ruined everything. But I mean, like by that I meant like, you know, like big business and corporations got involved with the internet, and now the internet is like basically the public at this point, right? And the internet's only fun, and it's only good, and it's only like a useful tool for like, you know, freedom and expression and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, we know that's not reality, you know? But the moment that you can get depersoned, by depersoned I mean you get like, your email accounts get shut down, your credit cards get destroyed, you're banned from the banks, you're not allowed to, you know, like basically some like Chinese social credit score system shit happens to you in America.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that's no longer like the internet just being the internet. You're at that point a step away from the gulags.
Wow, absolutely, man. I mean, next thing you know, man, we're gonna start seeing people get, you know, taken out of the country, bro. Crazy.
You know, bro, dude, imagine the headlines if someone gets deported for being canceled on the internet. Could you fucking imagine if, like, let's say some Dominican dude says some really fucked up shit about like trans people on Twitter, and then he gets deported?
Oh my god. Even if he has his papers here.
Bro, no, exactly. Like, if he didn't become a citizen, it's like, yeah, no, we don't want you here. Deported.
Deported. Get out of here.
Banished.
You and your family. Get out of here.
Oh, your whole last name, your family
Fuck
tree gets
outta here,
uprooted
man.
to DR again.
Your name is gonna be a number now. That's what's gonna happen.
That's not even like that. Like what you just said is not even like a joke at this point. Because did you hear about what happened with DHS, the Department of Homeland Security? The big leak that happened, where like it revealed that they were working with social media since like 7 years ago.
No. Please explain it to the audience.
Oh,
I'm
dude.
sure they're as curious as I am.
So you know, like you know, every thought you kind of had of like, oh, like the government and the media is like, you know, like colluding with each other in order to get like, you know, for political reasons, whatever. You know, like that was kind of like a suspicion we all had. Like we all kind of knew. We all saw examples in our.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially
Yeah.
since like in China they do the same thing. The government and the social media platforms like kind of work together. It's like, come on, man. Like the United States is as, if not more advanced in China, so they would definitely do it. I'm not shocked to hear that.
Yeah.
But to see that now it's confirmed, it's like, wow.
Yeah, bro. And it's like it's worse than most people even believed. Because like people just thought, you know, oh, somebody in the CIA maybe called up Facebook and it's like, hey, listen, this person be potentially a terrorist. Maybe, you know, maybe they want to like, you know, remove from your platform, and, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Maybe we won't regulate you. It's like that's always like the threat that like government had over big tech, is that they could regulate them, or like, you know, threaten to regulate them, and like in a way that would completely destroy the business.
Ooh, my thing's at 20%.
I keep forgetting to bring my charger.
No, don't worry about it, man. I have one here.
Alright. But like, alright, so what was I saying?
Yeah, so like when it comes to the government and social media platforms working together,
Yeah.
it's been confirmed already.
So the Department of Homeland Security had a leak, right? They had a leak like right at the turn of November, or like just before. And in that leak was 106 pages of like leaked information, of like documentation of interactions, of meetings that the government and like big tech had, sometimes twice, once, sometimes every 2 weeks, that like Twitter and Facebook would just meet up with somebody from like the Department of Homeland Security to talk about like what they can do in order to like, you know, help America's interests on the internet, but you know, project and it was, so there was that. There was like text messages between like people who worked for big tech platforms, like this lady who was an executive for Microsoft, who used to be an employee of the Department of Homeland Security, that like after she left that, went to Microsoft and now works in Microsoft in order to get them to work more with the government. And then the text messages that she had with like another agent of the Department of Homeland Security, where she was like, big tech gotta get more comfortable working with the government.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
There is literally, there is quite literally a website on Facebook where people can just go to, and if you have a government email, like like at block.gov, you could petition. You could maybe like send a request to like Facebook's president to just take something down. You could be a cop. You could be like some kind of like person that works in Congress. You could be somebody that like works in the CIA or FBI or like the DHS, and send them that email, and send them a URL of the content you want to remove, and they'll just do it.
Wow.
They'll say they'll review it, but like they're not going to argue with you. You're the government.
That's fucking crazy.
And in this document in particular, it wasn't just like they had some interactions, taking people out that were saying something about America's interests in the Middle East or whatever, right? On some classic CIA shit, Instead, this was like on paper. It wrote down vaccine disinformation, combating vaccine disinformation, fighting like people talking about like this criticism of American withdrawal from Afghanistan, the economy, economic institutions, basically anything that could they justify as like that can hurt America's interests. Imagine you talking about how like a certain government like the government policy on they closed off the Keystone pipeline and they didn't give out any oil leases to these companies. They know that now that's causing massive spikes in our gas prices, right? The government now has an interest at trying to stop you say that, because they can argue it hurts America's interest because it could undermine the confidence in the economy. Yeah. Or you wrote about the fact that you wrote about how COVID came from a lab in China. How there was a lot of evidence and that's already proven at this point, right? How how people said shit during COVID that was true, that they were canceled off the internet for, but then 3 months later was maybe it's true. Then 3 months later it's actually it is true, and it's a good thing. As that these things get revealed more in the media. There's a comment that I saw. I keep seeing posts a different video that's Pedro, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? 6 months.
Nice, man. That's funny. That is funny.
Yeah.
That is so fucking true, though, man. It's so true.
Dude, we knew from the jump.
No, I would say 6 months with permission. That is the difference.
6 to 18
permission,
months.
bro. With permission.
With
on top of that, you remember when they started taking off YouTube videos on vitamin C, healthier alternatives to the vaccine?
Bruh.
And it was what the fuck, man?
Dude, you couldn't talk about having exercise and taking vitamins and just being fucking healthy to combat the virus.
Taking care of your immune system, taking some cold showers. I mean, really? Really?
You couldn't talk about natural immunity. You couldn't talk about the fact that if it's a normal virus, then you should get some level of immunity after you get infected. And even discussions
and also herd immunity as well.
You couldn't talk about any of that. You couldn't talk about that until the government was allowed you to talk about that. And you remember how at the start of COVID, they were starting to do all this, and the government, people in government were should be really careful about the executive powers and the emergency powers you put into this whole COVID response, because it's you can't take that cat out of the bag once it happens. And then it happened, and now we're in this hellscape where we've been in this hellscape for 7 years, but the government is working colluding with big tech. But now it's even more explicit.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's I don't know where I don't know where this is headed, man. I don't. Do you think that we've crossed the line in terms of communist regime in America?
I don't
think we're there already.
I don't think we're there yet. But I don't think it's necessarily as communism that we're heading towards that has this level of bad stuff in it. So communism is a whole a spirit specific thing. But I think that what we're going into is some kind of weird new thing, a combination of how people talk about end stage capitalism is just basically just fascism but with money, and communism everything's collective, you can't really do anything individually. A combination of those two things are happening right now. And also on top of that, the whole weird globalist agenda of like trying to make it everything is super expensive that everybody rents stuff because they don't want anybody to own anything. You remember how like the whole world economic forum thing?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. You'll own nothing, be happy. In
Yep.
the year 2030.
Yep.
Eat the bugs.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm.
There's like it's happening like that. Like things are getting more expensive, and like the people in charge probably don't even want it to get any better because worse shit gets for us, the more power they got to like manipulate what we do and what they want. They don't have a reason to stop it. Oh, but in that leak too was direct documentation on the Hunter Biden laptop story. The FBI knew from the jump it was real because they interviewed the guy that from the shop that the laptop was found, and the story was completely credible, and they knew it, and it was true, and it was his laptop, and yet they still told Facebook and like Twitter, Russian disinformation, trust us.
Oh man.
It was literally the FBI. There was one specific FBI agent, and his name is listed on this like document that petitioned the FBI. This is really funny. So the Biden laptop story was a real thing, right? Everyone knew that, it would come out, and everyone knew except the media didn't want to acknowledge it until 3 weeks after the election.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Slightly acknowledge it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
There's another that wasn't even the first time shit like that's happened. Do you remember the Steele dossier? And there's a lot of crazy shit happening with Trump that a lot of people don't like.
No.
All right. During Donald Trump's presidency, the big document that the establishment tried to use against him was the Steele dossier that said that he had some collusion with the Russians, some big collusion that they could never really directly point out or ever say anything, and we just heard a bunch of conspiracies every day on the news. Oh, it's a P tape. Oh, it's he's collaborating with Russia because he's Putin's dog, even though Russia fucking didn't do anything under Trump, right? There was a specific agent in the CIA. Okay, so there was a guy that worked for the Trump campaign, right? And that guy was, I think, a lawyer or some guy that made deals internationally. He was talking to some shady Russians. We know they're shady Russians because the CIA has, knowledge of these guys, and they know that they're shady Russians. So then the FBI, one specific agent of the FBI, mind you, very woke agent of the FBI, was like, weird. Why is this Trump campaign person, talking to these Russians? Let me call up the FBI. Let me see if he's one of their guys, because the FBI, enlists civilians, soldiers, and people like that to be basically liaisons for them and have information for them. They can do shit that's shady, but they can do it for America's interest, so they don't get in trouble. They called the FBI. Hey, this one of your guys? The FBI was like, yeah, that's one of our guys, and they sent that response back in an email. This agent edited that email to say that no, he was not one of our guys, in order to justify going to FISA court, which is basically the FBI needs to go to a certain specific kind of court in order to get a permit to spy on somebody. They submitted that false evidence to a FISA court to get permission in order to do a wiretap on that guy to get information on Donald Trump's campaign. So then they could use it against them politically, because this FBI agent was working, if not directly, working ideologically with the DNC and the high Democrat establishment to try to do whatever they can to take out Trump. And this is a really funny thing too. You don't got like Trump. You don't even got care at all about politics to just keep track of just the amount of shady ass movie level shit that just happened in the background constantly. Yeah. People have defended Trump that hate Trump. They just defend him because they don't want this to be a norm. They don't want this weird spy, deep state shit to be happening constantly. And we just saw that constantly throughout his presidency. How the fuck do you impeach a person twice and somehow consider that to be we successfully impeached him?
No.
Every single time he just got shot down because you didn't have any real evidence. You just made a pony show of the whole thing. You just made a parade on TV, on cable news for 6 weeks, and no one watched.
And so the difference between a legitimate lawsuit and the difference between a legitimate impeachment as opposed to a fake one
is that
is 6 weeks.
yeah, So you know how it was, right? Like basically, one specific part of the government, sues to get the president impeached under like like a crime or whatever, and then that has to go to the Senate, and then the Senate gets like a vote 2/3 or not to like impeach the president, to like right?
Yep.
Immediately when it went to the point of voting, denied immediately, even by the people who hated Trump. Even though like the Republicans held the Senate at that point, so like that was kind of like it was going to get shut down. Even people that are like didn't like Trump and was on the opposite party were just kind of like, we don't have a basis for this. This is just a show.
Damn, man. I think under Trump, man, the American system, I think that worldwide people were like, yo, this is a shit show. We can't trust these people anymore.
Yeah, man.
America's not what it used to be.
America.
I think we became Rome under Trump. Whether I mean, I don't think he was a part of it.
What do you mean by like Rome?
It was the beginning of the end.
The collapse of the Roman Empire?
Yeah.
How did that start? Like the collapse? I don't know much about the Roman Empire's collapse.
Neither do I. But man, I just fucking. I mean, that was when America was seen as a shit show at that point. And I think that China and Russia must have been looking at us like we were fools, and that was it for us.
It was really like it's so weird how like Trump has just kind of like rattled the entire like structure of American government, because like Trump wasn't a normal politician. I don't just mean like that. Oh, he wasn't a politician. He was like he was a rich American guy that ran for it. He was a true American like that, like right. Rich guy in the media for a very long time. He has connections, right? Like I wouldn't necessarily say he's like an unconnected individual when it comes to like shady shit going on, But it's just kind of like they made people fans of Trump by how much they went after him and how little like they could like actually get on him. Like Trump was the most well-investigated president of history, bro.
Yes.
He must be the most squeaky clean politician in the world if like he was investigated that much and nothing has come up with it. Right. They raided his house, bro. They raided his house for documents that they gave him permission to have. The FBI literally put fucking the lock itself on the basement of his fucking house, bro. They had the documents.
Yeah.
He had them like in a room. The FBI themselves inspected that room, inspected the document they left him. Like, oh yeah, sure, everything's fine, but put a lock on that door. Actually, no, we're gonna give you a lock. An FBI agent literally put the lock to the door that held the documents from Mar-a-Lago, which then like 6 months later, they bust through. Like, oh yeah, you had a lock on it, he was hiding something.
Oh man. Yeah, the whole situation was like really odd, dude.
And it was so funny too, how like little Donald Trump fought back and still won, because there's how like nonsense it was. Because you didn't hear Trump like go on tirade like, oh, this is like deep state, You didn't hear you didn't see like a viral canceled off the internet, probably why, but like you didn't see like a big fight for him to redeem himself, because there was like no need for it, because like the story literally fizzled out on its own time. No one talks about that shit.
That must have been the smartest thing he ever did. It was just let it ride. Just keep it shut.
Yeah.
Let the fools ramble on, and that's it. You look innocent at the end.
Yeah, like you're literally just minding your own business when like you get busted through the door, and it's like you committed a crime, and you're just like, what crime? Got nothing. Can't do shit.
The amount of self-control that he must have practiced.
I mean, he did go through a lot of bullshit for 4 years. He probably already knows some lessons.
I don't know, man. I think honestly, we got to give him credit when credit is due. But the fact that this man, from the start of the election, said, "I'm going to be president," everybody was against him.
He did it out of spite, bro. He did the whole thing out of spite.
I think I know why.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, like it was so remember like that whole era of like on TV where like everyone had a roast.
Yeah.
Every celebrity had a roast. Everybody needed one. There was a roast of Justin Bieber. There was a roast of Mike Tyson. There was a roast of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And in the roast of Donald Trump, Barack Obama was there, bro.
Yep.
And Barack Obama was just like saying like, I heard you're ready for president. You may be rich and you may be like a powerful movie star, like but I know something you'll never be, president. And everybody laughed.
Right.
And you see Trump just in the back, like in his mind, just being like,
That's right, man. And apparently, I heard that he walked up to Obama after the whole show was done, and he just said, "I'm gonna take your job one day," and he did it. And he did.
It's like,
fuck, man.
And
Damn, man.
There's something to be said too about like Trump's whole like. It's weird that things are like There's something I've been thinking about sometimes, like mythologies of like cultures and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How like there's mythologies that are alive, like living mythologies, mythologies that are written down, known, like they happen that we just see in real time. Trump was a mythology, man. Trump was literally like, it's only been like what, like 2 years since he left office, almost 2 years, and like he's basically mythologized in American history now. He's like, and generally culturally in the eyes of society, he's seen as like an American man, like as American gets, bro.
Right.
He ate McDonald's every day. He was on WWE, bro.
He got stone cold stuttered, man.
Bro, he fucking beat up like Vince McMahon in
Yes.
WWE, bro.
He cut his hair.
He had a TV show. He was on movies, bro. He's a fucking American mythical legend, bro.
He is,
He's like Paul
man.
Bunyan of modern day, bro.
He
Like,
is,
he's a
dude.
mythical creature.
Truly.
With like fucking, and he has symbols, bro. He's like a symbolic creature. The fucking orange skin is always gonna be a Trump thing.
Yeah,
the
always.
weird hair thing is gonna be a Trump thing, bro.
Right.
You're fired. It's gonna be a Trump thing, bro.
Right, that's right.
He's literally a meme forever, bro. He was the meme president of the United States for 4 years, and it was the best 4 years we've had, like in a very long time.
Ooh, every day. You know, I remember when he first got elected. I think you guys want to hear this. When he first got elected into the office, I remember the shock everybody had when he won. It's everybody. Because I went to, the school I went to was purely liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was voting for Hillary. And so I remember when he won, everybody was like, whoa. Following day, the night right after election night, the day after election night, sorry, I was walking around the campus, everybody's chin was facing the ground. And it was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen. How upset everybody got. And and from that day, the day right after election night, that was when the riot started happening.
Dude.
Truly, but to me, it's like how bodacious this man was. You went up against the media companies. You went against
Politics
politics in general, American politics.
I don't know if you remember, but there were 20 other candidates running for the Republican ticket during that time,
Mm-hmm.
and he dismantled every single one of them with a fucking joke, bro. He had a nickname for everybody. He roasted the fuck out of them to the point where they just laughed, bro. He bullied people.
And especially when Megyn Kelly was trying to trap him with a question in regards to like his hatred for women and calling women pigs, he goes, "Only Rosie O'Donnell."
He knew how to talk to America, bro.
And then after that, everybody loved him. However brief.
Because the one thing that Donald Trump had that nobody can steal from him is with authenticity, or at least the portrayal of authenticity when it comes to his responses. Because he didn't talk like a politician. He didn't pretend like he didn't have an opinion one way or another about stuff. He didn't say shit in such a way. He always answered questions, and like answered it in a very direct way that other politicians didn't. And even when he dodged it in like by bringing up other points that are or somewhat more present in the issue, right? I saw, right. This is a good comparison, right? I just saw a MSNBC interview, right? So right now there's a gubernatorial race that's happening in New York, right? And there's a lady who's running in New York called Stacey Hochul, who's like the incumbent candidate for the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get voted into office. She was lieutenant governor after Cuomo, well, he didn't die. Cuomo got axed for good reason. All the crimes. Yeah, for all the crimes. Crimes kind of gets you out of office, right? So she took office, and New York's crime rate has gone like last year, 2021, we're at 1990s level, bro. They're at the level, like how like our parents talk mythically about how like bad crime was in New York during the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how like basically like crime? The 90s was basically New York was basically Gotham in the 90s.
Mm.
Just the amount of crime going on.
I think that is true because I remember how violent rap music was back then.
Dude, oh yeah.
It was essentially mirroring. That's my connection in my mind. I just like pop culture tends to be a direct mirror of what's going on out there. Yeah.
All right, that's a good like point to like take in like the culture of it reflects. But like I've heard stories, just general stories, when people refer to like like the early '90s of like the of New York. There's that general like that decade in general in New York was a lot of very high crime rates. To the point people don't want to walk at night in New York, in Times Square.
Not even in Times Square.
Not even, bro. You're in danger.
Wow.
Crime rates got to that level in 2021, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2022, the crime rate is down from that high, down 50% from that high. So it's basically like here. And it's really funny during this interview, like this. So Casey Holtrell, her last name is Holtrell, right? She's campaigning right now for governor, and like she doesn't acknowledge the crime problem in New York. And when asked about it directly, she said that it's a Republican conspiracy, and she says that like no, if you look at the stats, crime is actually down 50% from last year. But like they don't show you the rest of the graph. Like 2021 was this high, right? 2022 is this high, right? Okay, that it went down, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is 2020. This is 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like it went down 15% from the high of last year, but it's still at a record high that hasn't been seen in like that long, bro.
Wow.
And she doesn't acknowledge that shit, bro. And there's like shit going on where it's like it's not even just like, oh, there's a weird cultural ramping crime rate in New York that it's going out of control. It's like a policy thing. Like there's like policies for like bail reform over there. Basically, if you commit a crime that's not severe enough, like let's say murder, you get just let out of jail immediately the same day with no money like to your bail. And like it happens. And this has led to a lot of people who are like habitual criminals to get away with shit and get out into the street and like commit more crimes until the point where they kill people.
That's terrible.
Yeah. This like even like recently, this lady, I'm getting too far off from the topic. I'm gonna save that stuff later.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. I hope you guys are enjoying.
Okay, right. So, let me go back.
Isaiah's spitting bars, man.
But like, let me go back to my original point about like the whole Trump thing. So, compare her, right? So she was asked directly about crime, and she's like, and she doesn't acknowledge it. She says that it's a Republican conspiracy, and she's like, you see, the conservatives are not just voting deniers; they're also stat deniers. Because if you see the stats, crime is actually down 15% from last year, and like refuses to acknowledge like the bail reform thing has like really fucked everything over. And like when asked about stuff, she's like, oh well, we really should be like we shouldn't be distracted about these kinds of things. The Republicans are trying to make us divided for. We should focus on things like abortion rights. The Republicans are trying to take away because they're trying to campaign on abortion rights, which is like a really like weird thing to just hang your hat on, your whole campaign on, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, if Trump was asked about the crime rate and shit like that, he would acknowledge it either through a joke, say some serious shit, and like make it very simple about what's going on. He wouldn't be like, oh well, because like issues like this or that, like the economy. He would just say, because of bail reform, and like because of bail reform, and like these DAs are not punishing people. That's why we're getting these crime rates. And it's like he would point shit out. He would say shit. He would like say shit. A TV show person would. And that's how he was good. Like on speeches, he knew how to convey information simply to people.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the difference between Trump and a politician. A politician tries to dodge things and dodge responsibility. Trump dodged responsibility too, but he at least acknowledged the argument.
Yeah.
Oh, but like
so, man, he will forever be missed.
But wait, actually, he did do one thing that's really bad. He signed into law the whole thing that was with like the So the DHS had a new branch open up, and like that branch was opened up through like Trump's signature when he was president during this time. So I don't know if he was like, like you could say he was tricked. People think he might be tricked to do it because like it was sold as, sign this thing to put like a new like branch into law. No, not a branch, like to open a new wing into law, open a new wing in the DHS to help domestic terrorist issues like school shooting shit like that or something like that. It was fluffed in some kind of way. He might have signed it. He didn't know the full extent of it. Was like full institutional collusion with like big tech. Maybe he didn't know that. Because I think if he did, he probably wouldn't have signed it because that led to him getting booted off the internet after January 6th.
Are they ever gonna put him back on Twitter?
So Elon Musk said that he's like not bringing anybody back until he has like he has to develop like a team of people to go through like people's cases and figure out who's in the state. Because you know, people it would be fun in a very chaotic way to reinstate everybody that was ever banned. But you know, there are a lot of people who are banned for you know, good reason. Like I don't just talk about opinion. I'm talking about, you know, straight up, you know, death threats and illegal shit you put on pictures in the internet. You know, those kinds of people that, you know, they should stay banned and probably, you know, off everything. Yeah. But no changes happened yet to Twitter. But you know, the target is for that to happen. You know, for him to be reinstated, because he wasn't really kicked off for any illegal reason. He was kicked off for political reasons, among other people. If he gets back, you know for a fact he's winning the election if he gets back.
Absolutely. Who did you vote for 2020?
Okay, for 2020 I voted for Trump. For 2016 I voted for Hillary.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You voted for Hillary?
I tried to actually, but I wasn't registered to vote in my college. I was registered to vote back in my hometown, but I didn't get a chance. My vote didn't count, but I voted for Hillary at that point because I wasn't really that well informed. Yeah. But,
it's okay.
Yeah.
You were young.
I was naive then.
You were naive. Yeah, it's okay. We've all been there.
The lies.
Yeah. 2016 I didn't vote at all. Because I just, like I said, I was on the same boat as you, and but it was so entertaining.
Dude, it was a circus, and it was the most entertaining circus for politics ever.
Yes.
Trump single-handedly has made most Americans self-aware of politics now.
Yeah.
There's a big population of people now somewhat aware of politics just through Trump. You know? People just been aware of shit.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is all the weird shit that they would say about Trump, and then a friend of yours could probably come up to you and be like, oh, you know that wasn't true, right? What? Yeah, look, let me show you. And they show you evidence of you know, maybe it was lying. Trump was a big wake up call for a lot of people that the media lies about everything. No one saw that until until Trump happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hashtag fake news.
Funny, it's always the case you know, they accuse other people of the thing that they do, and by they I mean the media and you know, the people in power, let's say. Oh, you're spreading hate speech. Got put you off the internet because you know your voice and your opinions gonna, you know, theoretically hurt a person, which is I find really funny. I think we talked about this last episode how they always somehow go to this weird straw man theoretical third person that you're hurting with your words. It's you can't Pedro, you can't say that men are men and women are women. Don't you know that by saying that you put that out into the air and somehow in the ether through a series of connections of causality to the butterfly effect of cause and effect, you're gonna somehow attribute to the self-esteem being destroyed of a small child who potentially might be trans, might be not, and then they might kill themselves, and that's completely on your fault because you said that men are men and women are women. You monster!
Okay, bro, let's take a pause.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
I see too many examples.
I've never heard anything like that before. Wow, I say, wow. What's your Instagram, man?
I should probably make an Instagram for other people because I don't have my personal one. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, cool. Because I'm sure that a lot of people want to hear you out, man. All right. Well, with that being said, so yeah, going back to the whole Jewish thing. So interesting how we literally,
we diverted really far off that one.
Woo! But now let's bring it back to the center.
Yes.
So, how are we gonna be able to
move on from this as a society?
I wouldn't say we, because we're just regular folks, man. But what about these celebrities, man? How are they gonna come back? I don't know, man. It's you're seeing it with Kanye, Andrew Tate. You're seeing all these guys. How are they ever gonna be able to come back from this?
They will come back from this because, well, they will come back from this. Basically what always happens if you know, as long as they capitulate at the end, they'll come back, whether that be 2 months from now or so, right? After they get, you know, very bad scolding from the world, right? Which whenever I hear sensitivity training, I think brainwashing, which is very scary. The fact that was one of the demands.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I think in terms of celebrities, they would come back. What needs to happen is the theory I have. So then I feel like, like the way that like this like very like sudden allergic reaction to like anything like anti-Semitic in the internet makes it seem like that Jewish people as a collective are like a monolith that are simply like a Philippine background that makes people more suspicious, which in turn makes anti-Semitism worse in the country because it's like an obvious example of like a weird preferential treatment going on in society. We need, at least, not we, but like, I think that might need to be like a very famous Jewish celebrity to speak out on stuff like this. You think about it. Imagine if like an average, like an internet, even like just like an internet famous Jewish person could like, point this out. And like, like point out that Jewish people aren't a monolith. They're not like, there's quite literally like, saying Jewish people are a monolith is like saying all light-skinned people are not, like all light-skinned people are a monolith. It doesn't make sense, like there's like distinct differences very much within like, that giant population. And it just so happens that like, for whatever reason, for whatever like, course of history, there's a collection of very influential, very powerful, very wealthy Jewish people, mostly centered around New York and mostly centered around LA, weirdly enough, right? Like, the Jewish people live all over the world, but somehow the Jewish community always happen to be like, about like, the cabal in the, well, I keep saying cabal, but like the people, the population of powerful people like in New York and like LA, right? There needs to be somebody that points out, hey, there's a distinction. Not all Jewish people are, obviously not all Jewish people are like this. This is just a very like particular. It's like Hollywood. Actually, yeah. It's like saying how in Hollywood there's like a certain culture that's starting to push certain things, right? There's a Hollywood culture. A very weird, perversive Hollywood culture that has a lot of weird, shady shit going on. But like that's not California, or that's not famous people as a whole, and that's not media in general, right? It's just that very particular weird culture in Hollywood that people can like point out, point to, and like talk about without like saying the entirety of the rich and powerful are involved in some kind of giant conspiracy to rule the world, right?
Right.
That kind of shit has to happen. At least that's the first step, I would imagine.
Okay. Cool. Well, that was quite the show. We're about to hit the 1 hour mark. You have any final comments you like to make?
Vote. Don't care who. Vote. Just vote. But like, look up the people, because like I'll be honest, Pedro, for all the like political shit I'm aware of, I don't know who the fuck is running in New Jersey, and I don't know what the fucking positions are.
I think it's a guy named Murphy or something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds nice, but I don't know, who cares. All right, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for staying tuned. We'll be coming out with our third episode. I don't know if you'll be available for that, but we'll be coming out with our third episode. And next time we'll be talking about. You'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye.